Yes, I am. True. Funny. Tim Black. I am TimBlack.com. Tim Black. Tim Black. Tim Black.
Start your show now.
Tim Black.
Your show is scheduled to start in 29 seconds.
True. Funny. Tim Black. All right. Yes. What up, people? How you doing? Welcome to the Tim Black at Night
Show.
Show.
Will go live in 5 seconds. 4,
There it is.
3, 2, 1.
Bam!
Nobody take no cornbread from me.
That's right. What's up, people? Once again, Periscope, Facebook, YouTube. Welcome to the show. Glad to have you. Oh, man. I love this intro. Tim Black. I love this intro, man. Tim Black. Tim Black. Yes, I am. I can stay there for a minute, but I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. Don't do it, Tim Black. Let me connect my chat rooms up real quick. Chat room 1. Chat room 2. Steve is in the house. Low Key's in the house. Mars Pluto, Julie, Love 101, Uli's in the house. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, everyone. I see we got callers in the queue already. People got stuff they want to talk about. I'm extra feeling you tonight on Freedom Friday. Welcome to the show, guys. You know, this is a show where callers from all over the world get to call in and speak their minds about issues that they care about. And it's a beautiful thing. The phone number is on the screen here. If you can find it, here you go. 319-527-6212. 319-527-6212. Just reach out and grab that number right there and call up and get in the queue. The queue. All right. So, guys, now...
should be. And I hope that the American people will see through this charade.
Stop, Lindsay. Stop it, Lindsay. All right, guys, so, all right, so there's been a lot of conversation, a lot of conversation, guys, about the Kavanaugh hearings and the Christine Ford hearings that took place. As we all know, this has been going on for quite some time as far as what's going to happen with Kavanaugh, their conversation, and we know about it, and we know what's been, look at this. I just think it's hilarious, man. Every once in a while, I'll put together a piece of artwork that just really speaks to the times, It just really speaks to the times. I think I got to leave the screen. This is so dope. So, if you've been paying attention to this thing, or even if you haven't, you probably heard about it, you couldn't help. You live in America, and we've been talking about it constantly. And that is the confirmation hearings for for Brett Kavanaugh. And folks, I'm going to tell you something. Let me tell you something. The conversation, the deliberations, the hearings themselves were hilarious to say the least. And one thing I learned today after listening to hours of conversation, hours of testimony from Brett Kavanaugh, Trump's guy, and also from Christine Ford, as she relayed her sentiments, her thoughts from her experiences, her telling of events. One thing I know for sure, and that is Brett Kavanaugh loves some beer. Now, the folks over at Deadspin did a clip that I thought was hilarious, and I have to share it with you. I take no credit for it other than to say I got good taste.
I drank beer with my friends. Sometimes I had too many beers. I liked beer. I still like beer. Had beers, have some beers. One beer, drink beer, drinks beer, drank beer, and drinking beer. You've probably had beers, Senator.
Beach Week Ralph Club biggest contributor.
You know, I got a weak stomach, whether it's with beer. I like
You
beer.
haven't answered that.
I like beer. I don't know if you do.
Okay.
Do you like beer, Senator, or not? What do you like to drink?
Next one.
Hanging out and having some beers with friends, which I gladly do, and which I fully embrace.
So much about today's testimony. Well, actually, yesterday's testimony. Today was just the nomination hearing. But so much about the conversation was about beer. Brett Kavanaugh talking about beer, talking about how she loved beer, and like, hey, but don't you for a second suggest maybe he drank too many beers. You know, there are like parts of this thing that to me just stunk all the way, like you could smell it from wherever you were sitting, miles away, you could just smell it. It was just horrible. I didn't like a lot of it. I don't like the concept of these hearings that really don't amount to a whole lot and anything more than political posturing. I'll give it that all day. That's what it's doing. It's like them playing politics and people trying to get reelected. And, you know, it's just the whole air of, like, come on, guys, you're wasting my time. That's how I felt as I watched it, but I had to watch it because I needed to know what was going on, what was actually said, not just watch sound bites. But there are things I took away from it that I want to share with you. If you're Mr. Coffee with Tim Black Show, you know I did my best to run it down, give it to you straight. There are a couple points that stuck in my head, and one of them is something that shows Brett Kavanaugh in the worst possible light. Right? Worst possible light, where he, you know, really was being a real dickhead, okay? So I'm going to show you the clip. It's between him and Amy Klobuchar, and I'll let you be the judge of how much of a jackass this guy is, you know?
So most people have done some drinking in high school and college, and many people even struggle with alcoholism and binge drinking. My own dad struggled with alcoholism most of his life, and he got in trouble for it, and there were consequences. He is still in AA at age 90, and he's sober, and in his words, he was pursued by grace, and that's how he got through this. So in your case, you have said here and other places that you never drank so much that you didn't remember what happened, but yet we have heard, not under oath, but we have heard your college roommate say that you did drink frequently. These are in news reports, that you would sometimes be belligerent. Another classmate said it's not credible for you to say you didn't have memory lapses. So drinking is one thing.
I actually don't think that's the second quote's correct. On the first quote, if you wanted, I provided some material that's still redacted about the situation with the freshman year roommate. And I don't really want to repeat that in a public hearing, but just so you know, there were 3 people in a room, Dave White, Jamie Roach, and me, and it was a contentious situation where Jamie did not like Dave White at all, and I mean this.
Okay.
So Dave White came back from home one weekend, and Jamie Roach had moved all his furniture out into the courtyard.
Okay.
And so he walks in, and so that's your source on that. Okay. So there's some old.
Drinking is one thing.
And there's much more. Okay. Look at the redacted portion of what I said. I don't want to repeat that in a public hearing.
I will. Could I just ask one more question?
Redacted information about that.
Okay. Drinking is one thing, but the concern is about truthfulness. And in your written testimony, you said sometimes you had too many drinks. Was there ever a time when you drank so much that you couldn't remember what happened or part of what happened the night before?
No, I remember what happened, and I think you've probably had beers, Senator, and so
you're saying there's never been a case where you drank so much that you didn't remember what happened the night before or part of what happened?
You're asking about, blackout. I don't know. Have you?
Could you answer the question, Judge? That's not happened. Is that your answer?
Yeah, and I'm curious if you have.
I have no drinking problem, Judge.
Yeah, nor do I.
Okay, thank you.
Senator Hatch.
All right. Yeah, see, that's the Kavanaugh, that I saw. All right, that's the Kavanaugh that I saw.
You couldn't remember
and
what
I
happened?
want to see if we can. Let me just hold it right here. Here we go.
Could
Leave
you
it
answer
right
the
there.
question,
Let's
Judge?
pause right there. No, hold on. That's not it. Here, what was it? Right.
I have
Here it
no
is.
drinking problem, Judge.
Yeah, nor do I.
Okay, thank you.
There you go. That's the one. That's where we want to keep it. I want to keep it right there as I come back over here and try to make my point. All right, so right here. So a couple of things about this little exchange between Amy Klobuchar and Brett Kavanaugh. Brett Kavanaugh had an opportunity where he could be human. He failed to be a human being in the moment when he could be a human being. This would have earned him a lot of points with a lot of folks. See, there's some people who are not just like, oh, whatever the Democrats say, fine, let's roll with it. There's some people who are independent. In fact, most of the country's independent. Most people don't choose either, Republicans or Democrats. They kind of go what works for them. They kind of do a smell test on either side and say, hey, what do I think? I am a human being with thoughts. Let me use them. So what Kavanaugh did here is he missed an opportunity to truly show a side of himself that could be endearing to people. And the reason why I say that is that Amy Klobuchar, she talked about her father, and her father struggled with alcohol. Kavanaugh showed no respect for that, no attention to it at all. He could have said something like, well, I understand what you're saying, and it's a horrible thing to struggle with alcoholism. I do not have that problem, and I do not blackout drink, and I was a kid and we were drinking, but I did not drink to the point where I lost my damn mind and tried to hurt somebody. It's just not who I am. It's not what I'm about. It's not the type of person I am. It's not how I was raised. It's not how I conduct my life then or now. But I respect the hell out of your story, and your dad, well, he sounds like a true fighter. And tell him I respect the hell out of him as well. Like, he could have did something like that, but you know the reason why Brett Kavanaugh couldn't have done it? He could have, but he couldn't. And the reason is because it ain't in him to do it. It's not who he is. See, you have to pull from reserves of decency and commonality and compassion and just a regular guy like thing in you. And after a while, when you've been in such rarefied air as Brett Kavanaugh, as he talked about when he worked for Bush and he did this amazing life of being at the highest levels of government, and he went to the amazing places on Air Force One, from Pakistan to Uzbekistan and Okatan and Junagatan. All these things he talked about, he bragged about. He doesn't have that gear. That gear that he needs to have, which is compassion and empathy, respect for fellow man, and particularly fellow woman. Another thing. You remember in the beginning, if you watch this in the beginning, and I don't include it here, but if you get a chance, if you want to watch the proceedings, you want to watch the hearings where he was speaking about his opening statement. Kavanaugh's opening statement, he pulled out a lot of, he had time, he prepared it. He had like 40 minutes where he spoke uninterrupted from paper that he wrote. He was reciting. He said he wrote it the night earlier. He said that he had an assistant help him with it, and they read over it. And he said, in fact, he didn't even have an opportunity to listen to Christine Ford's testimony because he was busy practicing his. So his prepared remarks is what Kavanaugh started this whole day with. His prepared remarks. See, in his prepared remarks, he was hitting all those little notes. He talked about his daughter, and he cried. He talked about his dad, and his dad writing in this little diary and always doing like note-taking, and he cried. He talked about his friends, his bros he hung out with, and he cried. He talked about the women who signed the letter for him, told him how great he was, how they loved him, and he was always a gentleman, and they stuck their necks out for him, and he cried. He talked about some woman who he had written about in the yearbook as an alumnus, which was a term for something of someone that you slept with, that slept with everybody, like a sleep around type of girl. And he cried for her. But unscripted, Kavanaugh has not the capacity to be genuine. So I ask you this, and this is how I see it. If you can't be compassionate, if you can't be gracious, when unscripted, on the fly, then when you are gracious, when you are compassionate, it doesn't ring true. Give me that. That's my point. Yeah, when Amy Klobuchar was asking him very reasonable questions, she wasn't asking him hard questions like they ask, I don't know, like did you, what is the craziest sex position you ever been in, and have you ever had a threesome, and have you ever slept with animals, you ever slept with children? Like, should I ask crazy, like wild, like unreasonable, disrespectful questions? She asked a person who has said, I drink beer, I love beer, I drink beer, and defended it. And she asked, hey, maybe possibly you drink too much, maybe. And the guy got defensive, he deflected, and then he threw a shade. Not a good look. Because there's a lot of people out there who like, oh, no, Tim, this is all wrong. This is all the Democrats doing. You know what? No one can take you somewhere you don't want to go if you don't get in the car. And Brett Kavanaugh, he got his ass in the car. His ass is in the car. Who's this? There we go. He's in the car. All right, so I got another point. We ain't got to stay there all night because we got other ones. So that was my diss to Kavanaugh about Klobuchar. Now, I also want to add, because I think people need to add this, that somehow after that exchange between Klobuchar and Kavanaugh, K against K, right after they went to a break. And by the time that they came back to continue the hearings, the first thing out of Kavanaugh's mouth was an apology to Klobuchar. Because I'm right. Someone talked to him during the break and was like, hey, dude, that looked horrible. That exchange, you kind of were demeaning to her. It's not a good look. And you were snarling and your facial expression looked pompous and arrogant. This is not good. So you need to apologize. And the first thing out of his mouth, that shit you not, was an apology to Klobuchar. So I respect the fact that he apologized. Most people are not reporting that he apologized. They're just going with the first part. I will hammer Kavanaugh, as I just did, for his disrespectful treatment of Amy Klobuchar, but I will also add he did apologize, which is something a lot of pricks don't do. Maybe they don't do it because they don't want to, they don't want to admit they were wrong, but okay. So now, there's another part in this I thought that was hilarious, that must be shared. It was Lindsey Graham.
I hope everybody Are you aware that...
And I want to pause here before we get to Lindsey Graham, because there's something about Lindsey Graham, guys, that really burns me up, okay? There's something about old Lindsey Graham that burns me up. And that's all the people that are always talking all great things about Lindsey Graham. It was like him and the late John McCain and how they were like the Mavericks and the kissing friends and buddies and just the best sweethearts of the moderate Republicans that were reasonable, and they work with the Democrats. They're really good people and all this shit, okay? Well, the level of hypocrisy that Lindsey Graham was able to shovel into these hearings, the level of bullshit he was shoveling at these hearings. This guy must have had 30-inch bicep there. At least this guy is just shoveling the bullshit. I mean, he went on a rant that to me was embarrassing. Now, I'm sure it may have played well with some idiot somewhere in a small town somewhere who'd never been around people to be able to decipher shit from Shinola, from actual, like, I don't know, Cottonelle. But he was totally full of it, and I want to share this clip with you and get your point on it, because the extreme amount of fake outrage on display by Lindsey Graham is that of epic proportions. I think it's almost biblical. It's how much shit Lindsey Graham was full of. In fact, I call him, I'm going to change his name from Lindsey Graham to Lindsey Grandstand. Here's a clip.
At 9:23 on the night of July the 9th, the day you were nominated to the Supreme Court by President Trump, Senator Schumer said, 23 minutes after your nomination, I will oppose Judge Kavanaugh's nomination with everything I have. I have a bipartisan, and I hope a bipartisan majority will do the same. The stakes are simply too high for anything less. Well, if you weren't aware of it, you are now. Did you meet with Senator Dianne Feinstein on August 20th?
I did meet with Senator Feinstein.
Did you know that her staff had already recommended a lawyer to Dr. Ford?
I did not know that.
Did you know that her and her staff had this allegations for over 20 days?
I did not know that at the time.
If you wanted an FBI investigation, you could have come to us. What you want to do is destroy this guy's life, hold this seat open, and hope you win in 2020. You've said that, not me. You've got nothing to apologize for. When you see Sotomayor and Kagan, tell them that Lindsey said hello, because I voted for them. I would never do to them what you've done to this guy. This is the most unethical sham since I've been in politics. And if you really wanted to know the truth, you sure as hell wouldn't have done what you've done to this guy. Are you a gang rapist?
No.
I cannot imagine what you and your family have gone through. Boy, y'all want power. God, I hope you never get it. I hope the American people can see through this sham, that you knew about it and you held it. You had no intention of protecting Dr. Ford. None. She's as much of a victim as you are. God, I hate to say it, because these have been my friends. But let me tell you, when it comes to this, you're looking for a fair process, you came to the wrong town at the wrong time, my friend. Do you consider this a job interview?
The advice and consent role is like a job
You
interview.
consider that you've been through a job interview.
I've been through a process of advice and consent under the Constitution. Which
Would you say you've been through hell?
I've been through hell and then some.
This is not a job interview.
Yeah.
This is hell.
This
is going to destroy the ability of good people to come forward because of this crap. Your high school yearbook. You have interacted with professional women all your life, not one accusation. You're supposed to be Bill Cosby when you're a junior and senior in high school. And all of a sudden you got over it. It's been my understanding that if you drug women and rape them for 2 years in high school, you probably don't stop. Here's my understanding. If you lived a good life, people would recognize it, like the American Bar Association has the gold standard. His integrity is absolutely unquestioned. He is the very circumspect in his personal conduct, harbors no biases or prejudices. He's entirely ethical, is a really decent person. He is warm, friendly, unassuming. He's the nicest person. The ABA. The one thing I can tell you, you should be proud of. Ashley, you should be proud of this, that you raised a daughter who had the good character to pray for Dr. Ford. To my Republican colleagues, if you vote no, you're legitimizing the most despicable thing I have seen in my time in politics. You want this seat? I hope you never get it. I hope you're on the Supreme Court. That's exactly where you should be. And I hope that the American people will see through this charade. And I wish you well. and I intend to vote for you, and I hope everybody who's fair-minded will.
His best performance, ladies and gentlemen. Lindsey Graham up there doing his best performance. I thought it was great. I give him a score. I give him a score 8.5. 8.5. He didn't quite stick the dismount, but he was good. He was moving his head around a bit. Had a little flavor thrown in. That's not regular style. That's an accelerated ability to shovel bullshit. He was great. He was using both hands. He was ambidextrous. He showed skill, particular skill, and fluidity in his motions of shoveling shit. All right, so let's get down to this, man. Lindsey Graham is up here talking about they're destroying this man's life, this guy's life. Last time I checked, Brett Kavanaugh is still a judge in D.C. Circuit Court. Second most powerful court in the nation. He still has that job. Yeah. He's been a political animal ever since the 80s. He worked on what is his name? The guy who went after Clinton. Ken Starr. He worked on that prosecution of Clinton. He had them asking Clinton all these horrible questions. He didn't give a shit. Were you around in politics then, Lindsey Graham? Because you just said you never seen more of a sham in politics. But we'll get to that later. No. Not just talking about the Clinton thing. You know, you've been around a while, Lindsey. You never thought of how many other shams have you seen that if you think this is the top sham, the worst sham in politics, is poor Kavanaugh having a bad day. What about the American people having a bad day because Obama bailed out the banks instead of bailing out Main Street? He bailed out Wall Street instead of Main Street, ran on bailing out Main Street. That wasn't a big enough sham. I think that's a little bigger than Kavanaugh having a bad day or week. What about, Bush sending us off to war on a fake-ass war of weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, and 1 million dead Iraqis, and thousands of dead soldiers, and hundreds, and I don't know how many hundreds, of wounded post-traumatic stress disorder soldiers. You don't think that was a bigger sham than poor Kavanaugh having to read tabloids about himself in a position that he accepted to take, knowing they're going to dig into his ass? Like, this is what they do. This is a job for a lifetime, Lindsey Graham. This is an elected. He elected to do this. He wasn't drafted like someone, like he has no choice. He could have said, I don't want to do it. I don't want to put my family through it. I got a pretty good life already. Why would I want to go through this shit? I know they're going to run a fine-tooth comb over everything I've ever done in my life. And also, Lindsey Graham, you said this was the most pathetic political sham in your life. Didn't the Republicans just stonewall Obama when he was trying to make his pick of Merrick Garland? Weren't you in Congress then, sir? What do you call that? That wasn't a political sham? See, I got no problems calling this a sham. But I don't remember you calling that a sham. And I don't know how you make one sham worse than the other. They're both horrible. But the only difference is one was your team and the other is being done by another team. And they didn't have any such type of disgusting stories popping out about Merrick Garland. You guys just didn't want him because he was a Democrat. Like, there were no allegations against him. You just did it because you could. Which I think is worse. At least optically. Lindsey Graham went on about yearbooks. And I get your point, man. When people got to go back to your yearbook, that's pretty sad. Except when it comes to a job that you have for the rest of your life. Yeah, like, there are people not getting jobs, right? See, Lindsey's older than me. We're both getting old. I'm getting old. I'm already old, shit. If I'm old, Lindsey's really old, okay? Lindsay, there are people not getting jobs now for shit they wrote on Instagram. There are people not getting jobs now for posts they made on Twitter or Reddit. Where the hell you been, buddy? Or you think that this guy Kavanaugh is above that? Man, look, you really showing your age now, Haas, because we all know this is the new age. Facebook ain't nothing but the 70s yearbook or 80s yearbook. That's what Facebook is. That's what they call books. Let's keep going. You know, Lindsey Graham made this point of saying, oh my God, all these years Kavanaugh's been around women and not one allegation. What the hell is that supposed to mean, Lindsey? Maybe he's just slick. Yeah, you know, maybe he's just good at it. You know, maybe it was just one time. Who knows? But maybe, I don't know, maybe he got away with other stuff. We don't fucking know. Just because somebody, so you mean to tell me somebody could commit a crime and because they didn't do any more, you're like, well, he only committed that one. He didn't commit crimes all the time. He didn't do it all the time. Sometimes maybe he did it, but he didn't do it all the time. So therefore, since it's not a robbery spree, that first robbery is going to let that robbery go because, you didn't keep robbing. And obviously a real robber would be a career robber. That doesn't make any sense, particularly when we know there's victims. If there's victims deserve what? Justice. Doesn't matter how many victims there are. These are allegations, but they need to be looked into. For you to act all faked outraged because Kavanaugh is getting treatment that any other person, well, not any other person, but the way most of us are treated. I mean, come on, let's face it. If this was a regular guy looking for a regular job and any of this shit popped up on the radar at all for him, he wouldn't even be looking for that job anymore. He'd be out of there so quick, fast, be nothing to talk about. Oh, and I love Lindsey Graham's Bill Cosby zinger. How long did you stay up writing that one, Lindsey? Huh? How long was that? How long did you work on the Cosby zinger? Or did you just get it off Facebook or Instagram? Yeah. And I'll end on this because I thought it was something special the way Lindsey talked about the American Bar Association, considered Kavanaugh the gold standard, and then he read a bunch of platitudes the American Bar Association said about Kavanaugh, as if their thoughts of Kavanaugh should supersede the allegations and storyline of a credible witness who's come forward to testify at great peril to her and her family. As if this association knows better, because, their opinion matters more than an actual victim. Well, I don't think Lindsey Graham read the newspaper. He was too busy working on that Bill Cosby zinger, because this morning the American Bar Association, after yesterday's testimony, changed their opinion. Yeah, after they heard Kavanaugh get up there and act like an ass, and after they heard the testimony of Christine Ford, they decided their recommendation is that they need to have an FBI investigation. Not just for Kavanaugh, but for the sanctity of the Senate. Oh, and the validity of the justice. Now, after all of that, after all that stuff, right? Somebody, I don't know who this guy is, but I really loved his response to Lindsey Graham's tirade. Now, I'm only going to play a little bit, but it was a great response to Lindsey showing his ass with his fake outrage, going way over the top, doing his best Nicolas Cage overacting ability, overacting fake outrage of William Shatner style testimony in the Senate. Here goes Mr. White House responding to Lindsey Graham showing his ass. Get me off of here. Here we go.
Fair-minded Will.
Senator Whitehouse. Should we let things settle a little bit after that?
If you want to, we'll take a 60-second break.
No, I'm good.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm good.
I thought that was funny, man. Like, whoa, Lizzie's about to have a fake stroke. Maybe we just now take a little beat for a second. Let the bullshit kind of simmer down a little bit. Anyway, I like that response by White House. I don't know anything about his politics, but I thought that was pretty cool. All right, guys. I think that's all I got. Oh yeah. Also. So you know that they moved the process forward. So what's going to happen now is they are going to go to a vote at some point. But before they do that, Trump has agreed to an FBI investigation into the accusations against Kavanaugh. So that is going to happen. That's going to happen. That's going to go down, right? That's going down. And also, that might not be so good for Kavanaugh. Like, this may throw a monkey wrench in the festivities, because now there are going to be even more allegations come out. In fact, the Michael Avenatti, the lawyer for Stormy Daniels, well, he says his client, Julie Swetnick, will testify because Real Donald Trump and the Senate Republicans refused to allow his client, Julie Swetnick, to testify. We will be taking her story directly to the American people this weekend. This is about a search for truth. Details to follow. The allegations, if you thought that the allegations that Ms. Ford made were damaging, you ain't heard nothing yet. Oh, you ain't heard nothing. That's about to get really bad. About to get really bad for them. It's going to get horrendous is what it's going to get. Look, I'm not saying that it's fair. What I'm saying is, if you are applying for a job that you can have for the rest of your life that comes with the humongous amount of power that this position comes from, I'm not going to feel bad about you if you get raked over the coals. I think you're supposed to get raked over the coals. That's what I think. There are people going, Tim, it's poor man's. First of all, he's not a poor man. You're a poor man, sir. I'm a poor man, sir. We're poor man. He's not a poor man, okay? Okay? Graduate top of his class from Yale Law School. All right? As he's very happy to tell you, he was first in his class. He's traveled the world and done amazing things at the highest levels of government and politics. All right, so calm down with the, oh, whoa, from Kavanaugh. Oh, poor Kavanaugh. Slow down, motherfucker, slow down. But they love to make you feel bad about somebody whose life is infinitely better. I'm not saying his life needs to be destroyed. What I'm saying is allegations are allegations. Go take a polygraph, get in front of his FBI investigation and get this shit over with, or drop out. But don't sit and cry that people want to know things. Sue the hell out of somebody if they're lying on you and testify and get the shit over with. Don't make a spectacle of it. Don't stretch it out. That would be my suggestion. Hey, I had a guy work with me in IT. We were working at this company. He ended up with 2 strikes. The 3rd strike, your job goes away. And I remember we were having a couple of drinks, because I'll admit, we had drinks. We were after work. We were at the happy hour. We're having drinks in Bethesda. And he says, Tim, man, they gave me with my 2nd strike, man. I can't believe they did that, man. I didn't even know they were going to hit me with the 2nd strike. He said, man, you know, I got a wife, I got kids. This is jacked up, man. This is horrible, bro. What should I do? And I looked him right in his eye and I said, get your house in order. Kavanaugh should get his house in order. And if a poor guy with a making less than 40 grand in IT can take that and deal with that and walk it off, so can fucking Kavanaugh. So go cry me a river somewhere else, you punk. All right, guys. Hey. It just burns me up, man. We always got poor people overly concerned with the plight of rich people all the damn time. Meanwhile, rich people could care less. They tell you pull your damn bootstraps up, pull your pants up, pull your shoes up, you know? They blame you for your problems. But when rich people have problems, you love jumping in and offending them. Defending rich people with their problems. They don't defend you with your problems. What they say to you? Huh? Nothing. Mitt Romney sitting up there, oh, these poor bastards, we pay all the taxes. They're dead weight Americans, a bunch of dead weight, poor white trash and poor blacks. We don't got time for these poor people eating up the system. They're all moochers. That's what they think about you. But let one of them get in trouble. You live vicariously through them and start making excuses for their bullshit. All right. Phone number is 319-527-6212. All right, give a call up, guys, if you would like to voice your opinion on this issue. All right, I'm going to start with the first call in the queue. Hey, look, I'm looking for callers to call in. You got any new callers out there? Anybody who hasn't called in before? Come on now, take the plunge. Take the plunge, new people. And here goes our chat room. Chat room people. I don't know if we're on Periscope tonight or not. You never know with Periscope. Lord have mercy. They're talking about stuff I don't even want to repeat over here. Yeah, we're talking about the kitten passage. Sergeant Hayes, what the hell's going on, man? Sergeant Hayes up in the house. Make sure my sound is right. Goodness gracious. All right, guys. That's crazy. That's crazy, guys. Okay. I got a 11111 number. What's your name and what's your comment?
Hey, Tim Black. It's Hytham Gannon from Brooklyn, New York. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good, man.
That's good to know. Well, here's the thing what I can cover and talk about, not just the Kavanaugh issue, but the Rosenstein issue, which I'll jump into when I finish discussing about this whole thing against Kavanaugh, and not just him, but along with the Judge Merrick Garland. Here's the thing about Kavanaugh. From what I watched from Terrell Warwick's video, a.k.a. Styx Hexenhammer, of course, the one who I was hoping for you to encourage to talk to into your No Sellout show, and I'm hoping for that to happen in the future. But anyways, the thing what I watched from Styx's video about the first accuser named Christine Ford, of course, what he says, like, it's like unraveling because she flip-flops about, testifying in front of the Congress about this, what happened 36 years ago at Kavanaugh. And even though she did testify, and the whole thing, it did unravel pretty much either way. I don't know how, but the thing is, it was a circus between these two. It's not, and even though the second accuser, Deborah Ramirez, I don't know too much about that. Probably it unraveled quick. I'm not sure, but Julie Swetnick, of course, Avenatti's new client, of course. The thing with Avenatti, I don't like this guy because he's a creep, and I don't like he always gets involved going after Trump. And ever since that Michael Cohen issue, of course, that when he pleaded guilty and everything, the thing is, that's when I'm looking at Avenatti, he's kind of like, to me, a bit of an operative or whatnot. But anyways, and also there was a fourth accuser, we don't know the name yet, and there was a fifth one, except it became a hoax and the guy just apologized about it. I don't know what it was, but we'll find out sooner or later. And also the thing with, let's say, Merrick Garland, the reason he didn't get that his chance to be the Supreme Court Justice is during the special election. Well, yeah, the special election in 2014, of course, because there were 54 Republican senators, and I don't know how many representatives were there, but the reason he didn't get that vote, because if you must notice that all Republican senators were all conservatives. They don't want a liberal judge to even be confirmed. Of course, that's why years of, months of, obstructing his nomination, that's how it kind of happened, of course. And also, another thing I want to talk about, let's say Rosenstein, of course, that whole the wiretapping, I think it was, I'm not sure what it was, and also invoking 25th Amendment. The thing about this Rosenstein fella, I don't even like this guy, even if Trump postponed for next Thursday, of course, because the few things I would talk about this Rosenstein character is that This dude, of course, was the attorney
All right.
for the Obama and Clintons, of course. Although these people were in.
All right. Thank you for the phone call, my friend. I appreciate it. Goodness gracious, man. All right, guys. One topic, guys. One topic. Keep it concise. It's your time, but one topic, and let's keep it moving. I love you. I'm going to the next call. 917. You've been waiting. Thank you for your patience, 917. What's your name and what's your comment?
Yo, Tim Black. It's your boy KJ, Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn.
My brother. What's up, KJ? How you doing, man?
I've been good, brother. Listen, it's been a while. Haven't chatted with you. Definitely wanted to talk about this with you tonight. You know me. I'm a Trump guy. I'm a Republican. But I will say this. I grew up a poor white guy, okay? But I grew up in a neighborhood where I dated a lot of the girls from the other side of the tracks, okay? So I grew up around a lot of these rich white people. Now, the behavior that they were carrying on in high school is very classic of the very wealthy whites and the way they would party. And it used to actually blow me and my friends' minds because we were middle class, okay? Some were lower middle class, but basically middle class. And we couldn't believe when we would go to their parties, every once in a while, because, we would date maybe one of the, girls who wanted to date the cool guys, right? So we would go to these places, and these guys would be drinking literally. If you drink beer, especially in high school, these guys would drink until they all passed out or were throwing up. That was the culture of these rich, white, elitist kids. And the sexual behavior was insane. Me and my friends thought what we were doing was we thought we were wild, we thought we were bad. It was nothing in comparison to all these private school rich kids. And the girls too. I mean, when you hear these stories about these kids, what they're talking about, even to this day, I shake my head. These girls are going to somebody's house at 14, 15, drinking beer with guys. I mean, just that behavior alone, that frat house mentality, that, and what people don't understand, this is, when they use the word and the term white privilege, trust me, this is what applies to these kind of white people. The elite, the 1%ers, they live in this world where pretty much anything goes. They get away with ridiculous behavior. A lot of them don't get in trouble. And even if they do something fairly bad or horrendous, they tend to have a mommy and dad connections, especially in the D.C. area where these people are. These people might not have all the money in the world, but they have power. So this is just for all you people out there, the show Power? Okay, well, this is the white version of Power. All right? And these people are sick with power. But this behavior is so common. And this guy, just the fact that he speaks about how much he loves beer, I mean, it's just he just still sounds like a frat guy, tailgating at a Yankees game or a football game. To me, you would think at a certain point, you've moved up the ranks, you moved up the echelons of working in the government, right? You've worked for all these great positions. You worked for Bush. You did that and the other thing. And I
drank beer with my friend.
Like you're in high school. I mean, it just kills me. But this is the world of these people. And like I said, I dated a girl from that area who's also a psychiatrist. So this Dr. Ford lady, listen, I'm not giving her a pass either, because these girls, again, drinking, crazy, rampant sexual behavior, insane, and the whole, they're all filthy, they're all dirty, nobody gets a pass. This is a big shit show. This is for everyone to see how the elite and the power elite in this country, this is how these people act. This is not just some, rare kind of situation. I mean, look at the guy he grew up with, Judge. He's a full-blown alcoholic mess. The guy, I'm sure, some of his other friends, and these people, they're just like rich. They either become complete, drunk, drug addict, whatever's, or they wind up the way he wound up. And this is all because of their family, their power, where they come from, what schools they go to. And this is the white privilege in effect, because they get a pass on a lot of stuff that the average person would have got their wings clipped back in junior high school. And these people get away with this forever. And you're absolutely right. You know what? Because this guy's like my age. I'm 52 years old. And now I'm seeing these people. And I always thought, I wonder when I get older and these people start becoming like the main people in power, like what that's going to be like. And so the bottom line is, you got to deal with it. This is reality. This is what these people did and acted like back then. And, the chickens come home to roost. And they just got to deal with it. At the end of the day, he'll most likely get confirmed. So it's all a big shit show, Tim. You know it. And it's all a big, it's a mess. I know. Trust me. I'm not happy about it, even from my position as a Trump guy. It's too much. There's other guys out there, I'm sure. I mean, come on. Again, they're going to go over everything with a fine-tooth comb. And you had a yearbook. You were basically talking about drinking and banging and this chick Renata, who everyone fucking had sex with. I mean, come on. We all know. But nobody in their right mind. My high school yearbook would never allowed us to do stuff like that. Like when you see my high school yearbook, I swear we were literally choir boys and Boy Scouts, and this was a public school. These private school kids, like they're running the show in high school. So it just goes to show how sick with power and their white privilege, how they're born into it. And he was, get this, again, he's an only child. So that's the other thing. So now you got that. That's a whole nother sickness. You want to talk about sociopathic behavior. So, again, but this is a window into the white world of the 1% of white privilege. So everyone out there understands, listen, I may be a white guy, but trust me, there ain't no privilege in my white existence. I grew up dirt-ass poor, and I bust my ass every day to make a living, and I don't identify with these people. I recognize the behavior, because I remember it well as a high school student, and even, in the early years of college parties and going to people's parties and seeing this behavior. It's insane, trust me, and it's very disturbing. But, Tim, it's all BS, and at the end of the day, the FBI will do their investigation. They'll come up with nothing, and that's it. He's going to get confirmed. But I see this personally as this is like, I wouldn't be surprised, and it may sound but this is like a civil war with the elites. This is some serious stuff. I mean, the Dems are definitely hell bent on, this is it. This is a civil war amongst these people, and it's only going to get worse and worse. I appreciate you letting me take the time and give you a call on put in my 2 cents.
Yeah. No doubt, man. Thank you, KJ, for the response, man. I really do, brother, I really appreciate you calling in tonight and putting some truth down, man. You just dropped some science, man. Let me tell you something, man.
I didn't know I couldn't do that.
I want to tell you, brother, I respect the hell out of you calling up, dropping that line, dropping the knowledge, brother. Because, brother, I can say it, but people, they need you to say it. They won't listen, I mean, they listen, you know what I'm saying? But it's different when it comes from you, when it comes from a white guy who's built his own business, who's comes from where you come from, who grew up tough. I just want to speak to the elitism in the white privilege part, right? There are people who don't know about this. I have lived my whole life in the D.C. area. I've seen it my whole life. living here and working in downtown D.C. and being around these people. It is, KJ is so spot on, you have no idea. The alcohol, the fact that the drunken parties that the white guys would have blew black parties out of the fucking water. I'm trying to tell you, it was like night and day. Night and day. I was like, what the hell are they doing? The white guys were drinking Jägermeister. We're talking Georgetown. Jägermeister, Jack Daniels shots, getting their noses broke, grabbing women by the butt, and just guy and a girl talking, guy just walks up drunk, grabs the girl's butt. Like no fear of death, pranks, drunk pranks. Come on, guys, we know this stuff. Comedians have talked about it for decades. It's based in reality. It's based in reality. The movies you've seen, like Old School, where they put the guy's bed on the outside on the tree limb, or like this stuff is real. I've seen it. I've seen it, and my mind was blown. So thank you so much, KJ, for speaking to that. Now, all joking aside, there are black folks who have never seen this level of white privilege, and they mistakenly assume that white privilege, because there's different levels of white privilege. This is the white privilege where the dad gets you out of problems like they never happened. This is the white privilege where you get to put in your yearbook whatever the hell you want to. This is the white type of privilege where your shit don't stink and you think everyone else's does and you're fine. And oh my God, you're driving a hatchback. Well, you were just glad not to be on the bus. Oh my God, is that cloth interior? Oh God, disgusting. What, you have to work? You have a job? Oh God. You work at fast food? Oh my God. I'm going skiing in the Aspens with Mom. Yo. But then there's this other level where even poor white guys and poor white girls don't have any idea of what black people go through with police. It's not a privilege. It's just that you're unaware of how bad it is. But once you start hanging out with black folks and you see like, damn, why are they treating you so fucked up? Then the poor white guy or the poor white girl will see that there is a difference between how police and how authority figures treat black people, generally speaking. And it all comes down to power. They will treat the preppy white, rich-looking elite kids a certain way, and they'll treat the poor white trash or doesn't look elite white kids a different way, and then they treat the blacks a different way, worse than that. And that's the way it is. So black people need to recognize that there are levels to this. And that so when you say, oh, white privilege to somebody who's had it hard their whole lives and all you see is their white skin, but you don't know anything about their social, economic background. You know anything about what they've been through, what they've lived through. They could have had they could be a recovering meth head. They could be an abused child whose father was an alcoholic who beat the hell out of them. They could have all types of different scenarios. All right? Mom committed suicide. You have no idea. They could have been poor, living hand to mouth, just like your family was. Okay? Or barely making it at lower middle income. Right? So there are nuances. I could go on and on about it. I think it's a very important subject that people need to open their eyes and realize we are just not communicating properly. These words are, sometimes I think the words that people use that have, I don't even know where the word white privilege came from, but it's divisive in itself. It's not descriptive enough to really be specific enough for us to know what the hell we're even talking about. And it means different things to other people. So it's the terminology, I think it's meant to divide us. There is a difference. There are so many levels. It's a discussion for another day. But KJ, man, I want to thank you once again for calling up and shedding light to it, and also letting people know that this is not the rarest situation to ever exist, where a person could be an elitist, come from a well-to-do situation, have an easy life for the most part. Of course he had to study, but if you're in the right circles, life is totally different for you. And what I don't like is when poor people bow down to rich people and these super successful people like Kavanaugh and forget we got regular people problems that these people do not give a shit about. Stop living through these elitists. When I fight to try to get you a slice of the pie, they call you scum. Meanwhile, they didn't build that. They did it on the backs of poor people like us. We worked in the factories. We built the cars. We built the machines. We paved the roads. We fought the wars. They didn't. All right, I'm gone. I'm gone with that. All right. Woo! KJ got me on one, brother. And I'm not just talking about Republicans either, because there are liberals out there who they say that they're not racist, and they are the biggest bigots I've ever met in my life. Biggest bigots I've ever met. Take it from somebody who's been kicking ass for 6 years. You see where I'm at. You see what I've done. Look at the conservative black guys and look how great they're doing. Look at what liberal. Look at me on the left. Look how I'm doing. There's gonna be more. I'm gonna have a story to tell about what my experience has been on the left and how bigotry and racism plays out on the left in different ways that it manifests itself. So I just want you to know that that's in the works. We ain't gonna talk too much about it now, but it's coming. I'm gonna go to the next call. Thank you for holding on. 517? 517, you're live on Freedom Friday. What's your name and what's your comment?
Tim Black.
Yo.
Thomas Elmy from Lansing, Michigan, your longtime listener and friend.
How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great, man. Sounds like you're on a hot streak. So, I just wanted to point out that Dianne Feinstein had this letter for around 60 days, and somebody leaked it. Feinstein denied that she leaked it. So that leaves the lawyer and some other person that I forgot who they were. But somebody leaked it to the press. And they could have been going over this in secret, but the woman didn't know about that. So her lawyer, it seems like to me, set her up. And I think Kavanaugh got belligerent towards that woman, senator. You can't really defend him saying, "What do you drink?" and "Do you get blackout drunk?" and stuff like that. That was unacceptable. But I'll be able to be the Patreon next month, and I'm excited about that. So I wanted to end on a positive note. Love you, Tim Black. Have a good one.
You too, brother. Thank you for calling up, man. And you're right. You're right. There's no way to defend how he treated Amy Klobuchar, man. Klobuchar is very intelligent, and she knew exactly how to address him and to put him like on his heels, because she's very decent. And he was just, I think his true colors showed when he dealt with Amy Klobuchar. And she played it perfectly. She played it perfectly. So I think it made him look bad. I think, in fact, it was the fake crying at points I thought was very disingenuous on Kavanaugh's behalf, but that exchange with Amy, that was damaging. That didn't look good. So, and that's because she didn't fight back. So anyway, 405. Thank you for holding on. What's your name and what's your comment?
Greetings, Mr. Black. This is Cosmo Vinegar from Edmond, Oklahoma.
All right, Cosmo, what's on your mind?
Well, not a whole lot. I've been busy. Kids driving me up through the wall, but all the same, things have been going well. I wanted to focus today on the recent news regarding FBI, or I guess now former FBI deputy head Rod Rosenstein and the rather peculiar saga that led to his imminent demise / early retirement from the FBI. Now, there's a lot of things that could be said about my opinion about Rod Rosenstein, or really the FBI in general, many of which are not very kind words. However, what it comes across to me, because the whole saga even disillusioned my parents, who've been really hardcore supporters of the FBI since Trump's taken office. I guess that's something to be said when your entire news outlet's news production is coming from the same 6 or 7 companies that run our media. But even they had a hard time following what Rosenstein had apparently tried to do. And it made me realize something. Not realize, but it led me to the conclusion that our entire government has essentially become, how would you describe it? It's kind of like Game of Thrones now. You've got the 3 different warring factions of the government trying to all vie for unlimited power. There's you've got business class who are just trying to milk the government of every fucking penny that it can while leaving nothing for the poor. You've got the bureaucrats who are consistently working towards securing their own power from the shadows.
All right, guys, thank you for that phone call, my friend. Thank you so much for that phone call. Guys, I'm going to have to ask that we get to the point, that we state what our comment is, what we want to talk about, and we get to the point, because people are dropping off the feed. And I've noticed this over a period of time. Like, make your statement, know what you're going to say, and just go right in, all right? I'm going to the next call. I want to thank everybody for holding on. All right, thank you, Cosmo, for the phone call. All right. 412, I think you've been holding for a minute. What's your name and what's your comment?
Hey, Tim, it's Uli from PA.
Hey, Uli.
Calling in. Hey, I'm calling in a little bit ad hoc myself here. I'm trying to be concise. So first of all, I'm so glad that KJ called in, because KJ nailed it. I'm so glad he got, because, you can't speak for like hours, and so he got that part out of the way for me. And that's when I decided I was going to call in, because I'm like, okay, I don't have to talk about this. KJ nailed it. Except there are only children that aren't all spoiled brats, yeah. They're working class, only children. So that was my only criticism. What we're talking about, and you know what's so funny? Now, KJ, I think, is in New York City, right? You grew up in the D.C. area. I've lived in several countries. I grew up in Germany. I was around, and I'm pretty solid working class background myself. But because of the schools I went to, because, back home, it's actually free, so little working class children can go to school with the children of professors and pharmacists and what have you all. You know what I mean? So yeah, in growing up, there were kids just, oh my God, the things they took for granted that wouldn't even occur to us. So that's that. And then I lived in England for a while. And in England, it was really extreme because where I ended up was sheer coincidence. It was in Buckinghamshire, just outside London, about 20 minutes outside London, and it was a rich suburb, if you will. I mean, Buckinghamshire, there are a couple of places, counties they're called, so anyway, so that's a global phenomenon to cut through the chase. No matter where you go, if you're in whatever country, whatever city, apparently, there is a part in our society to whom the rules just don't apply, whether you're in the United States, in England, whatever. So I'm glad KJ got that out of the way, and that's not just white privilege, there's white elitist privilege, and 90% of the white population ain't in that club either, so that's that. But what really bothers me, so I'm trying to be concise, and because here's my sentiment on the whole Kavanaugh situation, which, everything you were talking about, Tim, everything everybody is talking about is so true. Like, the chat people and yeah, but there's always this but, and so this is such a hot button issue. It is unbelievable how we are being manipulated as a people into polarizing. We are being forced to polarize because, if you look at it, look, most people, here we got it again, there's a small percentage that are psychopaths, and you might as well make the argument that they're the same people, who are like beyond our imagination, vulgar and primitive and barbaric, because that's not how we grew up. We grew up having to see where our meal came from, and that's what we witnessed growing up. They never did. They just witnessed decadence and what have you, So anyway, but for us to be sitting here and arguing, about what we're being shown, we're arguing the soap opera. We are arguing the theater. But what's really going on, because whether you're talking Cosby, which a lot of people are talking about Bill Cosby and that whole drama, and now this Kavanaugh, their names and stories don't even really matter. It's just a circus. And we are manipulated, and we're caught between this legislation on one place, a certain, there's legislature behind it, and then political correctness on the other people, on the other side, so you, of course, condemn violence in any way, shape, or form, whether it's, rape, assault, whatever. There's so many forms of violence. And what normal human being in their right mind can be for these things, no matter whom they happen to, no matter when they happen? So you're caught in that emotion. But at the same time, we're also, where the political correctness comes in, being coerced into that we can't even question the accuser. And come on, these are also common sense questions when you say, okay, like, why right now? Where do you come from, like, right now? And what is your motivation, if there is? And that is not negating the gravity of violence against women or sexual assault or whatever. Why can I not ask this question? Who are you? What's
right.
in it for you? So the political correctness side in our society goes and says, well, you can't ask these questions. This is victim shaming. But when a black man gets shot in his own freaking apartment, and people come out and say, well, he had this and he did that. That's not victim shaming. You know what I mean? It's just it's gotten so twisted, and this is what's really stressing me out. And I have not been following the very details. More the Cosby I know a little bit more about, but but at the same time, I'm not allowed to question. Everything is so corrupt. Couldn't these women have been corrupted in some way? But I'm not allowed to ask this. This is such a difficult and such an incredibly divisive theme, and we should look what the consequences of this could be. From either way, we're being polarized, and our civil liberties are being taken from us, because there's consequence where there's a precedent. This can happen, so that's what really bothers me, and it stresses me out. So
right.
I don't believe the theater, the names, the stories, blah 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 blah. Those are just the actors. But how does this affect us? What are they trying to do? Because it's so clearly divisive. So
Wow.
yeah.
Wow.
Like I said, I wasn't well prepared, but I did want to say this. So you all have a good and safe and normal weekend.
You too,
Don't
Uli.
go hanging with the elite.
Yeah, right. But thank you, Uli, so much for the phone call. And I just wanna chime in and just sort of co-sign what Uli was saying, because I think she made some very valid points. Our political correctness of our culture, where we are right now, lends itself to like living in this area where there's so many things you can't say. Like you can't ask certain questions. Like you should be able to say, hey, what's this person's motivation? Now, during these proceedings, they did ask her, and she just said, hey, it's not political. Okay, she said it's not political. In 2012, I was talking to my therapist about this very issue. 2013, I met my couples therapist with my husband, because I've been dealing with this my whole life from this instance. She was 15 years old. So that's her story when it pertains to Kavanaugh. But on the broader point, which I think Uli's focusing on, is we're unable to ask questions without getting a label like we hate women or we condone rape. And it's just wrong to just jump to that bridge. Like, asking a question should not mean that you can assign someone that label. But when we say, well, Botham Jean was shot in his own house by a cop who wasn't even on duty, who says, well, I gave him a command in his own home when I had no authority to be in his home, and he didn't abide, so I shot him. And they don't tell us her toxicology report. They give us no evidence about what was in her apartment, but they proceed to tell us, hey, we searched his apartment and found he had some weed in the kitchen. But that's not victim shaming, as Uli brought up, not to some of these folks who would consider it victim shaming, or if they're the same people who get upset because someone labeled them badly because they asked, what do you think her motivation was for coming forward now? You understand what I'm saying? Like, these people are contradicting themselves. And some of us are contradicting ourselves. And it's all a big contradiction, is what Uli's trying to say. If you're saying people cannot ask, does this woman have a motive? Not even ask the question. Then you damn sure should not have a problem with us being pissed off about people asking what was Botham Jean's motive in his own apartment, minding his own damn business. And I thank you, Uli, for that. Thank you so much. 343, you're live on Freedom Friday. What's your name and what's your comment?
Hey there, Tim Black. How's it going from Kingston, Ontario, Canada? Are you ready for some hockey there, sir? Good luck to your, hopefully the second repeat of the Washington Capitals coming up. But I think the Leafs will have their number this year. But anyways, enough of that. If this is in regards to the testimony this week of this entire circus of Kavanaugh and stuff like that, there's other issues why Kavanaugh is not qualified. I've read some other articles from Press News and Free Thought Project, you get rid of the Fourth Amendment, this politics and all that great. And I'm just like, there's many more reasons that he's not qualified, but I don't understand why would Trump assume that he's such a good person or whatever, And there was an interesting meme that I read here today that from Unlimited Liberty on Facebook. Oh, today's Facebook debacle was quite interesting. 50 million people there being hacked and stuff like that, and having to re-sign into their accounts today. But it's all about due process. And here's the one thing it says on here. It says, so the guy who supported CIA black sites and indefinite detention now wants due process because he's facing allegations? Seems ironic. What do you think of that little comment there, Tim Black? And you have yourself a great weekend, and congratulations on 2 weeks of quitting smoking, and keep on fighting the good fight there, brother. Have a good weekend.
You too, man. You too, my brother. You too, my brother. That must be Bruce, man. I didn't catch it in the beginning there, Bruce, but I know that was you, brother, because we've been going through this thing together, man, and you're absolutely right. It's been 2 weeks, my brother. Today, my last cigarette was 2 weeks ago on a Friday, and And a Friday morning, so we're officially at 2 weeks, and it's great. 14 days, no nicotine, no cigarettes, and no patch either, and no nicotine at all. And I'm getting over the hump, I feel, you know. We're working on it, you know what I'm saying? So thank you so much, brother. I want to try to hopefully get through some more of these calls. I don't want people to wait too long. I got a 11111. I don't know if you spoke before, but what's your name? What's your comment? Hello? 111. Can you hear me? Well, I'll try to come back to you. There was another 111 in the queue, and I'm thinking you were different. It's a separate. Some people who mask their number, they come up with just ones, and that's kind of hard to differentiate them in the queue. 203. 203, you're live on Freedom Friday. What's your name? What's your comment?
Hi, Freedom. Hi, Tim. I appreciate what you're asking. And I saw the Cosby. This is like my first opportunity to talk about, you know, Cosby after reading the deposition and reading the case. I don't know if you or your listeners follow, I believe her name is Stacey Mobley. She is a lawyer. She runs a Twitter page called Bill Cosby is Innocent. And I read what she is saying. And I think she presents a very, Stacey Brown is her name. I said Mosley. Her Twitter handle is Stacey Brown Media. And she has basically laid the case for how Andrea Constant is basically extorting Cosby, and how everything, all her interactions were completely consensual. And after reading, you know, what Stacey Brown has revealed, even with the DA in making a political move, making the prosecution of Cosby, as Camille Cosby has already said, a personal ambition for his own growth, you see how the whole trial of Bill Cosby is unfair. I personally do not believe that Constant's interaction with him were not consensual. I believe they were completely consensual. She went over his house repeatedly. And like you said, we should be able to ask if she could have made a better decision. We already know Cosby could have and should have made a better decision. But like you said, we live in a society where when we ask if, you know, somebody who is doing the accusing could have made a better decision, we immediately become rapist sympathizers. So, you know, it's just not fair. It's not fair. I grew up in a household with two sisters and a mother who repeatedly told my sisters, let me catch you in a man's room late at night accusing him of sexual inappropriate behavior. You just can't do that. You know what I'm saying? So there's always an opportunity to ask, even for the person who is doing the accusing, could I have made a better decision? Could I have not put myself in a situation where somebody could sexually assault me? And we can't even ask that. It's very sad that in this society today, we can't ask that. If we ask that, we are immediately re-traumatizing, which to me is bullshit. That's not happening at all. You're asking a very fair question, and as black people who have constantly had to think twice before our every move, we do that, you know, like breathing air. So the fact that one should ask, how could Constant could have made a better choice, does not mean that we are, you know, re-victimizing Constant. So that's all I have to say.
Well, I want to thank you for the comments, my friend. I appreciate it. Interesting take, interesting way to very important point you made, okay? Very important point. There's a comedian I like. His name is Bill Burr. And Bill Burr, he had this one bit where he talks about someone who gets eaten by a lion. And he says, you know, if a lion eats you, the obvious question is, were you fucking with it? like how'd you get eaten by the lion? He said today, and I know I'm not doing it justice, But he's like, how'd that happen? Were you messing with it? You know, were you fucking with it? You know, did it just go up and grab you? What put you in proximity to the lion? Now, we live in a culture, and we've been talking about it, where KJ called up from my Republican brother from Bed-Stuy who voted for Trump. He called up and he talked about this real elitist white privilege, where people do all types of crazy stuff and face no repercussions. You got to remember that there are people like that of all political backgrounds who do all types of things and don't face repercussions and don't even know what repercussions look like. As black folks who are typically the typical black family is lower middle class. That's where they come from. All right, that's where we are on the social economic stratus. That's why we relate to each other mostly because of where we come from. We don't have a lot of money. We are flat. You'll hear people like Yvette Carnell speak of this all the time. So we have a certain culture that does not give us power in society just based on money. So one of the things we always try to do is avoid trouble, because we don't have the money to get out of trouble. We don't have the power to wield the power to make things go away. All right. So even if what you did is not a criminal offense, it's still like, should you have done that? What's wrong with you? Before I go to the next call, we'll just say this to add a little something to this. I remember telling my mom, there was a fight after school, Mom. And she said, well, how you know it was a fight? I said, because I was watching it. Smacked the shit out of me. Why? She said, because you got no business sitting around watching nobody fight. That's why. Because when the cops come, they come get you too. Don't you tell me there was a fight. You shouldn't see a fight, because when you see them doing anything, you should get gone. That is black culture. But see, there are people who are raised in a different culture who don't see it that way. Think you have all the right to stand there and watch that fight? And how dare you question them on why they sitting around where there's violence going on, where there's trouble going on, being present at that place where someone can get shot or get arrested and ain't nobody got no bail money. But see, they got bail money and they ain't worried about getting shot. This is the difference. Until we start realizing there's differences in the way certain people see certain things just based on the way they were raised, then we'll never see eye to eye. We'll never be able to understand one another. And I think that's part of the problem. But I want to thank you, Bud, for calling up, shedding some light on that issue. I appreciate you. I really do. I really do, my brother. Killed it. Now, oh, man. Speaking of Bill Burr comments, 304, you're live. What's up, Rob? How you doing, man? Iron Man Oz?
Was you fucking with it? Did you not see the snake? Was you fucking with it? I got some questions to ask you. Tim, how you doing?
Man, what's up, Rob? I did look, bro. You know, I saw your number in the queue, and it was perfect, bro. Thank you so much for hitting that for me, man. What's up, man? How you feeling?
I'm doing great, Tim. I'm doing good, man. 2 weeks, no cigarettes. You must not live with your mother-in-law. Because I do. That was one of those moments several years ago. I went over to pick my kid up from school. He usually got off the school bus over at her place before me and my wife ever got home. And I went over there, and she had a frantic look. Now, I've been married to my wife for 24 years. So I always got along with her mom, but she was always kind of that kooky mother-in-law. But she said she couldn't afford her medicine or pay her taxes that year, and she didn't know which one she was going to go for. I was like, why don't you just come live with us? You know, I said it out of kindness and gesture. Didn't think she'd take me up on it, but by God, she took me up on it. So she's been with me for about 7 years, and I ain't laid the cigarettes or the liquor down yet. But God bless you for giving up the cigarettes. That's a struggle. I've tried. Like I said, and I plan on trying again here soon. I just don't know when. But I want to thank you for everything you do and everything you bring to light. Like I said, you may not see me on the boards as much stuff, but I constantly continue to pull down your videos, listen to them on my car rides, and I look for people like you to give me a balanced news. I think I spoke with you just a little bit, wrote you the other night and said, hey, I'm checking out C-SPAN, so I'm trying to get an unbiased opinion of what the hell is going on and trying to make my own judgment or final thoughts on this. And my conclusion was, if I were Trump, And I believe every person should be presumed innocent until found guilty. But with this position that he is aiming for, I think I would just squash this right now and say, you know what, I can't have this. This is just too, go prove your innocence, come back later, I might get you a cabinet position on something else, but not for the Supreme Court justice. I think I would just squash it right now and start all over and throw up another nominee and let him go at the next one and hope that there's no skeletons in closets and whatnot. That's just how I feel about that. I would just squash it quick, but there's always going to be a stigma over, I think, his rulings. And like you said, he loves beer, loves beer, loves beer. You're talking about a Supreme Court justice nominee that sounds like he might have a favor for when it comes to alcohol laws. Well, I love my beer, and this guy loves his beer. So if we're going to change the DUI laws, you get 10 strikes before you get pulled over or something. I don't know. I'm just throwing out the mouth. As far as KJ's concerned, when KJ brought up the white privilege there, the first person came to my mind was that, Ethan Couch, that affluenza kid, killed 4 people in a DUI, got probation or something. It was something simple. He got to stay at home and wear an ankle bracelet because he was so rich he didn't know that he couldn't do that. And you're right. There's people who are out there. There's, the rich, top tier white privilege 1%. It exists. I've seen it locally. I've known of wealthy business owners' kids doing some stupid, nasty, shady crap, and it never makes the papers. They never serve time. They go to the private schools. He's absolutely right with that stuff. He hit the nail on the head out of everything I heard tonight. I thought, you know what, that really speaks volumes because I can relate to that. I can see that happening. I can see a drunken frat party and something going on, and it get quelled real quick, and nobody knows what happened. I can see that. I'm not saying it did. I don't want to, assume anything until everything's pointed out, but yeah, I could see that. But, and now again, I just wanted to touch base with you, Tim. Love you, love the callers, love the Wolf Pack. And, just because you don't hear from me or see from me doesn't mean I went nowhere.
My brother Rob, thank you so much, brother. We love you back, man. It's been a minute. Thank you for all you do. You know what's up. I'll just say, man, it's great hearing from people who have been around for years and years and years. Rob is a long-time listener of the show, long-time supporter of the show, guys. Be like Rob. Become a member of my Patreon. Become a supporter of the show. You don't know how much you need it. I appreciate you guys, man. Thank you for all you do, Rob. Real talk, man. Thank you for everybody that's been holding in the queue to get on. I got a 254 number. I think you've been here for a while. Thank you for your patience. 254.
Hello, Tim.
Hey, how you doing?
Hello, Tim. How are you?
Good.
This is Michelle W. So you asked if I would call in, so I decided to go on and call in. It's good to speak with you. I was watching your show earlier today and was speaking in the chat room and mentioned that I believe that Dr. Ford is a liar. And you asked if I would call and explain why and what proof did I have on that. Well, I do a little studying on body language. And she was in portrayal. She was not accessing memory. So she was basically putting on a pretty pose in the show, acting naive. And so that's why I believe that she was lying. So, I'm 52 years old. I'm the same age, her and Brett Kavanaugh. I grew up in the 80s. It's a different time frame back then. And we are in some troubled waters here. If we are going to just start taking laws from today and applying them to what occurred in the 80s, it's wrong and it's dangerous. And the fact that they are putting him on display over a yearbook, I don't care if he came from a rich family. It doesn't matter for what's happening today. They are destroying his name, or they basically already have his name, his family, that they'll never be able to proceed in life, business as usual or life as usual after this. And then your caller just before me just got through saying something, and this is what's driving me crazy, is that people are saying, well, he must prove his innocence. Since when? Since when does somebody being accused of a crime have to prove their innocence? No. They are innocent until proven guilty, and she does not have any proof. Any proof. She doesn't even know the day that it occurred exactly, the time or all the people that were there. She claims that were there. They all have said, no, that didn't happen, including her best friend. So that's why I, stated that she's lying.
Okay.
So, but anyways, I appreciate the call. I've always respected you and your position, but when I just felt like it was outrageous today. It was just outrageous hearing you basically make fun of this man that's being on display. And I think you did lose it a little bit. I would have lost it too. But again, I grew up in the 80s, and I know exactly what happened back then. And if we're going to say that this woman was sexually assaulted, you better get ready, because that means about 98% of all of us were sexually assaulted in the 80s.
Okay.
Different era.
Okay, well, I'll let you have your say. And unlike what I would usually do, Michelle, is I would end the call and maybe talk, but I don't think that would be fair, because you might want to say something after I respond. So let me let you stay on the line and let me say, and I'm going to give you my response to what you just said. And first of all, I want to say thank you for that. Thank you for that, because you're right. I did go in the chat and offer you and say, we'll call the show. So I'm glad you called up. And that's gutsy of you. I know you may feel like it's not gutsy, but people talk a lot of stuff online, and a lot of people do not call in. So thank you. I think we need to... The first thing that you said that I want to comment on is this whole idea about the 80s. Everybody in the 80s wasn't taking people's cookies. Not everybody. Everybody didn't take people's cookies. Everybody didn't, sexually assault one another. It's not everybody. I was raised a Jehovah's Witness. We didn't do that. In fact, if you did anything like that, you kicked out of the religion. Like, there are people from different backgrounds that didn't do everything. And forget me, because I left that religion as soon as I got old enough, because I didn't want to live my life that way. But shouldn't we want our leaders to be better people than us? I'm just saying, shouldn't we want the people that's particularly for jobs where there is no end date? Shouldn't we want those people to be special people, people of higher moral caliber, people of higher ethics than the rest of us? Those are who our presidents and who our leaders should be. Now, let me keep going. You brought up rule of law. Innocent before guilty. Well, the last time I checked, Michelle W., Brett Kavanaugh was not in the rule of law, was not in a court of law. He was applying for a job position. A job position that is a job position for life. You were not afforded innocence until proven guilty in a job application. I don't know how many jobs you've applied for. I've applied for many of them. I had to prove I was eligible for the job. I had to prove that's what a resume is for. That's what an interview is for. They're not there to prove that you aren't. You're there to prove that you are. That's what a job application is. That's what getting a job is all about. If they would have found, if someone goes on your Instagram tomorrow and they see a post they don't like, they will not even call you back for an interview. This is the world that we live in now. I'm sorry if people got to do whatever they wanted to do in the 80s because no one had internet access. But this is the world that young people live with now. So, sorry. There are a lot of people who have been passed over for a lot of jobs because of inconsequential crap they did years ago. There are people who bounced particularly for people in the D.C. area where there's a lot of government contracting. You could have missed a payment on a bill back in the 90s or the 2000s that will haunt you and keep you from getting a government position because your credit score is not pristine. You could have been through a divorce. You could have all types of extenuating circumstances. So, last thing. The job interview was up to that person to land that job. And in the case of Brett Kavanaugh, the position that he's getting, I feel like it's more powerful than a president. It's more powerful than a governor. It's more powerful than any other position because it's a position for life. And you decide the very fabric in which we operate throughout this country. There are other people who may not have the same amount of baggage that Brett Kavanaugh has. I'm not saying that the Democrats are not playing politics. They definitely are. And I don't agree with playing politics on important issues. But since you say you study body language, you cannot tell me that we're not part of Brett Kavanaugh's prepared remarks that seemed a little bit inauthentic. I know they were because I smelt that too. And Ms. Ford is not applying for a job. Brett Kavanaugh is. That's why I said what I said. All right. So that's how I see it. And I want to thank you once again for calling up and making your case. And yeah, I appreciate that. I don't think I changed your opinion. I don't think I did. I don't think you changed mine, but that's not what it's about. I don't think you're a bad person because you feel the way you feel. And I hope you feel that I'm not a bad person either because of my opinions. 786. 786, you're live, Freedom Friday. What's your name and what's your comment?
Hey, Tim, I called a month ago. I don't know if you remember me. I'm the one that was talking about the teacher, I don't know, and I was praising you. I was telling you that I've watched you for a long time. I don't know if you remember me. Anyways, I'm going to make this really quick. What's his name? Sassy Lindsey Graham. Sassy Lindsey Graham over here want to talk about ethics, but he's totally okay with endless war and the Yemenis children being bombed all the time. So I don't know. He want to talk about that, that the Democrats are being unethical. But Mitch McConnell broke the filibuster. He broke the filibuster record, and he doesn't want to bring that up, of course. So, and like they act as they haven't obstructed. They sure have obstructed. Yeah, that's all I want to say.
Good points, man. Thank you for getting this straight to the point, my brother. I appreciate you. I don't want the phone lines to cut off on people, but you made a good point. And that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not saying that this isn't, how can you say, political theater, right? I'm not saying it's not. Of course it is. Like pretty much everything that goes on Capitol Hill is political theater. A lot of it, from the sit-ins. Remember those sit-ins they were doing? Until they changed the gun laws, we're sitting in. Until he keeps talking about this damn wall, we're sitting in. And then like a week later, there's back business as usual. Like, there's a lot of acting. But my thing is, like, there are real problems going on that affect average Americans, not just Kavanaugh, but all of us. And you don't see the outrage. I want to see that type of outrage all the time. But let's have it about our veterans who live on the street. Let's have it for our seniors who have to decide if they're going to pay their medical bill for their medication, or if they're going to be able to buy food next month. Let's see about the poverty-stricken kids who live beneath the poverty line in these bad communities, or the schools that shut down in places like Chicago, and that they're giving vouchers just to certain kids. The other kids are in schools where they don't have heat, or they don't have water, or the ceilings are falling in. Like, this is real life in cities all across this country. Where is the outrage about that? And isn't it a political shame? Isn't this an egregious that these people that represent them go to Capitol Hill and only get excited about Kavanaugh? They feel like he's being railroaded. We're all being railroaded. Care about us, too. So that's how I see it. But I thank you so much for your comment, my friend. 215. I'm going to come back to you, Michelle, but 215, you're live Freedom Friday. What's your name? What's your comment?
Hey, my name is Charlotte. I'm calling from Philadelphia.
Hey, Cheryl, how you doing?
I'm doing fine. I'm just calling to say this Kavanaugh thing is a distraction for what's going on, what the U.S. is doing in Syria. Today, Israeli soldiers killed 7 Palestinians and wounded 509 Palestinians. The U.S. in Afghanistan killed like 10 children. And this is crazy. The thing that's going on right now is crazy. It's just a distraction. And that guy calling about Bill Cosby, Bill Cosby was well known in the comedy industry that he was doing what he was doing. He admitted it in his deposition. He drugged them. Different women. He admitted it. These people just don't want to believe in that pound cake speech he did about black folks. It was like a white supremacist was talking to us. And all I'm saying, I just can't take it anymore. It's just crazy. I mean, this election just ruined relationships, families, friendships. I never seen nothing like this before. Nothing, never like this before. I can't stand mainstream media. My husband can't stop turning it on. It drives me nuts.
Well,
but
I appreciate
all
you.
I'm saying, that Kavanaugh case is just a distraction for what's going on overseas. And then, like somebody mentioned about Yemen, was it like a couple of weeks ago? They killed children in buses 2 times, and they said it was just a military exercise.
Mm-hmm.
And the UN is a joke. The UN is a joke, and NATO. I'm just so worried we're going to go to war. Bolton talking about we're going to go in Iran. What the hell are they talking about?
Well, Charlotte, I want to thank you for calling in. I appreciate your comments. I got a response, but I first want to go make sure I get in everybody. 972, thank you for your patience. What's your name and what's your comment?
Hey, Tim.
Hey, how you doing?
This is Danny from Dallas.
Hey.
Listen, I love your show, but I just got a comment. I think it's over for Kavanaugh. I think you can stick a fork in him because, you know, after they did the final push, him and Lindsey Graham, you know, they put everything they had into it. They committed themselves to the whole storyline. And even him, you know, his testimony, I mean, there's sometimes it was almost comical because here's this guy that is talking about his high school and college days, and you know he's naming movies like Fast Times at Ridgemont High and what is it, Animal House. I mean, he knows all these movies off the top of his head. I mean, it sounds like he was living the, you know, frat boy life. But you know, some of the more disturbing things like his yearbook entries, like the boofing and all that stuff, the Devil's Triangle. You go on Urban Dictionary, you see what these things really mean. And, you know, now they've committed themselves, the Republicans, you know, with all this outrage and, you know, just indignation. And they painted themselves into a corner. You know, the FBI is going to investigate this. They're going to go to that specific day on his calendar. And I think they're really going to get a lot more information that's going to be embarrassing. And I think it's going to come down to where he's got to either step down or Trump's got to pick someone else. But, you know, I personally am glad that, you know, in spite of the way I feel about some of these people grandstanding, Booker included, because you could tell he was giving a speech this morning before he walked out like, hey, I'm going to be running for president pretty soon, so, I got to look good. But, despite that, I'm glad that this came out, because this whole issue, all this stuff with the Me Too movement, I don't agree with everything, but, people like Harvey Weinstein, all these powerful, I don't want to use swear words, all these powerful people that have gotten away with this stuff for so long. My own mother, when I was a kid, she worked at a telecom company, and she was pushed around. I mean, her bosses were actually trying to get her to join a prostitution ring, believe it or not. And my mom spent a lot of time fighting that. I mean, she hired a lawyer, and she lost, of course. I mean, big money behind all of that. Mm-hmm. And it really broke her in so many ways. And I've seen how she's had to live with that. They even pushed her on her back, and she had back and medical problems. I'm not going to go into a whole rant about this, but it's so good to finally see that people are standing up. And yes, there's some good and bad to this, and we have to keep alert and keep pushing ourselves to be reasonable. And in spite of things sometimes going too far one way, it usually all evens out. And I think we're going to see the culmination of that even with Kavanaugh. I think he's going to he's already in a precarious position. But that's all I got to say, man. I love your show.
Well, thank you, my brother, and I'm sorry to hear about your mom, man, and it's really disturbing what you just described. It really is, brother. So more strength to her, more strength to you, and thank you for calling up, and thank you for your comment. Wow. Yeah, we really got to recognize that it's us, the working people, against the corporations in so many instances, The class warfare is going on. It's going down. And if we realize that we have more in common than we have dis in common or un in common, that we have more in common as opposed to that, maybe then finally we could band together and kind of put up a good fight to protect our rights and just see what's going on. I'm not saying everybody with money is a bad person. I'm not saying that at all. There are people who do great things with their money. They help a lot of people, but then there are those who live in this bubble and they're a detriment to the rest of us. So that exists as well, and we got to recognize it. We don't get caught up in what the looks and things of that nature. I want to go back to Michelle. She was gracious enough to call up with her point of view. Hey, Michelle, I want to give you an opportunity to comment if you'd like to. Hey, Michelle, thank you for holding on.
Sure. Can you hear me?
We hear you.
Okay. All right, Tim, I appreciate you coming back to me. I just want to comment back on what you had said about this being a job interview. I absolutely agree it's a job interview, and it should have been all about that, about his qualifications. But when an accusation came in, whether it's truthful or not, we still don't know. Even after yesterday, we still don't know. But the majority of people have already convicted him of something, of wrongdoing, when we still don't know. That's the point I was trying to make. So what has happened is, and you had made a point that they need to be held to a higher standard than all of us. So what you're suggesting is that they live in a bubble from birth and not experience anything in life.
That's not what I'm suggesting at all.
How are they going to
That's
understand us then at that point?
That's
you know,
not-
I mean, I think that everybody goes through trials and tribulations. They have to make mistakes to know right from wrong. So if we raise children then that can absolutely do nothing, you know, they can't have a yearbook, they can't go to the school parties.
No.
You know, they have to
No.
live a straight life because we want them to lead in political office. You know, so what are we setting ourselves up for?
Okay.
For a generation to lead over us that has no experience of life? You know?
I disagree.
But,
I disagree, Michelle. Michelle, I want to thank you for your comments, though. I appreciate it. I'll just say, Michelle, I don't mean that you have to be an angel, but you have to be open and honest about the past. Like, nothing is more enduring than someone who had a rocky life, a person who comes from adversity, a person who's made mistakes, but learned from those mistakes and have set their life on a different course. There's nothing more inspiring and more an act or a show of leadership than a person who can tell you the tale of how they turned it around and how they were here and now they're here and how they got there. That's what leadership is. But I'm not saying this out of Kavanaugh. I know he's got a story of redemption. You know, he could have won this thing over. Don't let him off the hook. He could have been like, yes, I probably drank too much as a teenager, but I grew up. And this is who I became, and I realized that those actions, and I'm not admitting to anything I didn't do. I don't remember doing anything of that nature. I know me. I know who I am, but I'm not here to sell you that I was an angel. Instead, he projects this image of somebody who didn't have sex. He was a 29-year-old virgin who in the yearbook says he got sloshed every weekend. And he sits up here talking about he loves beer, but he never drank too many beers. Like, who loves beer but doesn't drink more than 2 beers? I mean, it doesn't make sense. So I'm not saying that you cannot be fallible. Be honest about your fallibility. Be honest about your humanness. That's what makes you relatable and interesting. And so I think we just have a miscommunication. But I want to thank you. I want to thank you, Michelle, for calling in, and all the great callers. I appreciate all of you. Everybody called up. You know? I really feel like he missed an opportunity, but he's not that guy. He's not that guy. He's not the guy to say, you know what? I was this, now I'm this. We love that song. Started from the bottom, now I'm here. Started from the bottom, now I'm here. You know, that's real. Be that guy. Or woman. Be that woman, you know? Thank you, Cosmo. Thank you, Uli. Thank you, Danny. Thank you, Michelle, Ironman Oz. Thank you, Charlotte. Thank you, KJ. I said KJ. Everybody, everyone who called in, man. So many great callers, man. We had a whole house packed of great callers tonight. And, yeah. So, look, guys. We sometimes disagree on certain things. We're not going to always see eye to eye. Michelle and I, we disagreed. I disagree with her. She disagrees with me. We got a different vantage point. Fine. But you know what? I'm not here to demonize her. You know what? That's what's great about this show is that this is not for Democrats or Republicans. This is a show for truth. This is a show for real people where we have real conversations and people call in from all over the world to talk about it. So, look, become a member of the Tim Black Wolf Pack. It's open to anyone. Progressive or conservative, I don't care. You know, leave your biases at the door, bring your soul. Bring your realness, bring your heart, bring your humanity and your empathy and your sense of humor. Please bring your sense of humor. Please do that because we ain't number people with opinions. Come on, I didn't just fall out of, the Harvard Law Review. I'm just a guy with some opinions, with some life experiences, who communicates in a certain way, and that's, and who pays attention and does research and watch 7 hours of testimonies, and, but it's just an opinion. That's all. We all have them. Hopefully, we like to think that they're based in experience and research and knowledge, but at the end of the day, no one's better than anyone else, and we're here just to share our thoughts and to try to plot on a way that we can build a better world, not just for us and not just for our families, but for other families all across this world, in this country and outside this country. That's what we're about. So if you want to be a part of that, go to patreon.com, Tim's Take Live, or hit me up at tim@timblacktv.com. Send story ideas to me. I will read them. We will chop it up. We will talk. I love you guys. I got a lot more content.
90 seconds.
See, I knew that phone was going to come. It's about to cut off. Thank you, everybody who tuned into the show. I'll see you again next week. We'll be back. Go find me on Facebook. Find me on Twitter as Real Tim Black. Find me on Instagram. Come on, Gram heads. Instagram us, Tim Black at Night. That's where I'm at. Follow me there. Retweet, share, promote, help share the videos. Get the word out. We're doing it. I love you. Have a great weekend. And like I always say, don't you let nobody take your cornbread.
60 seconds.
To my Super Chat people, I got Imad Orandi, just dropping by to say hi and a daily reminder that Kavanaugh, like Cheney and Garland, is part and parcel U.S. empire. Rapist judge is a fitting match. A Mayor says, hey Tim, hashtag MMT Conference 2018. Hashtag MMT CONF 2018 was today and tomorrow. Please cover. Well, I just covered it to at least 100 and something people on YouTube and some people on Periscope, some people on Facebook, and they'll be watching it, so hopefully they'll check you out. So, yeah, there we go.
10 seconds.
Booyah.
Thank you for using Blog Talk Radio. Goodbye.
We did it, y'all. All right, guys. I'll see you on the next one. Enjoy your weekend. Be safe. Tell somebody you love them. Mend the fence with a friend that you're no longer speaking to. Why don't you go ahead and make amends and go ahead and rebuild that relationship. At least bury the hatchet. Takes a lot more muscles to frown than it does to smile, y'all. So let's smile more, love more, and care more. Be a little bit more compassionate. I love you guys. Thank you for your grace and your compassion when it comes to the show and what I try to do. Thank you for respecting my point of view, knowing that I'm fallible, but I mean well. I mean, but I'm meaningful, and I do it with a laugh or two or three or four. All right, now. See you on the next one. Thank you, guys. I appreciate you. Tim Black. Tim Black. Tim Black. Yes, I am. True. Funny. Tim Black. I am TimBlack.com. Tim Black.
I drank beer with my friends. Sometimes I had too many beers. I liked beer. I still like beer. Had beers, have some beers. One beer, drink beer, drinks beer, drank beer, and drinking beer. You've probably had beers, Senator.
Beach Week Ralph Club biggest contributor.
You know, I got a weak stomach, whether it's with beer. I like beer.
You haven't answered that.
I like beer. I don't know if you do.
Okay.
Do you like beer, Senator, or not? What do you like to drink?
Next one.
Hanging out and having some beers with friends, which I gladly do and which I fully embrace.